Making the most of life and investment in Portugal, Portugal Pathways simplifies every step, from golden visa and relocation to citizenship and cross-border tax planning. Portugal Pathways are proud sponsors of the Portugal Diaries podcast. Welcome to the Portugal Diaries podcast. I'm Jen.
And I'm Claire.
Today on the Portugal Diaries, we're joined by Paul Stannard, founder of Portugal Pathways and the Portugal Investment Owners Club, or P Club for short.
With a background in media and tech, also an investment. Paul is actually renowned for being the guy who put the news onto the smartphone. Paul now helps international investors and new residents navigate life and opportunity in Portugal. He's building networks, driving innovation, and recently ran his first marathon in London for charity, a personal milestone that reflects his determination both in business and beyond. Paul, it's great to have you on the show.
Great to be with you.
Welcome.
This has been a long time coming, actually. We've talked about this quite a lot. And
We have.
finally made a space in the diary for
Yes. Yes. Glad to be here.
it. It's nice to have you.
Welcome. So thinking about your business, Claire's obviously touched on a number of things that you've been involved in the past, but tell us a little bit about your backstory. How did you get into media? How did you get into tech? How did it all begin?
Well, I came from a family of media. My father worked for the Daily Express. My uncle worked for the Mirror. My aunt worked in Fleet Street as well. So, it was always going to happen, sort of thing. So I joined when I was very young, and I happened within the first year, I ended up on the launch team of the Mail on Sunday. So I got the bug for media very early, and by the time I was 26, I'd launched my own newspapers. So didn't really know what I was doing. I thought I did, but then learned from the school of hard knocks. So, I've started 5 media businesses, managed to sell them all, some more successfully than others. Media. And then, as you said earlier, our team were the company. We were a media, newspapers, radio, magazines and all the rest of it back in the day. And we come up with this novel idea of reading news on a phone.
I mean, back then, who would have thought? Yeah.
Crazy.
And now we do it every single day.
And now I'm responsible. I'm the guilty one. So, the team are.
Yeah. But so how did you take that from, print, written, word? Obviously, smartphones were evolving and that was, massive. But how did you make the leap from just printed newspapers and magazines to blending it and becoming a tech business?
So they ended up being separate companies because they're very different.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was in the early 2000s, and newspaper in those days was like a comfort blanket. You had your breakfast and your coffee, and you read your Sunday paper.
The routine.
And I'd grown up with all of that, but you knew it was coming, and the smartphone didn't even, the iPhone wasn't even a thing.
No.
So the first iteration was it was like a comfortable pair of slippers. I remember my father saying, I will never read news on a phone. He doesn't ever put his iPad down. So he's in his 80s and he's a news junkie. I will never read it on my phone.
Yeah.
So what we did was, when news first went online, we created, you had the page turning.
Yes.
So it used to make the swish noise of a newspaper.
Yeah.
And that was done on my old Nokia. You remember the little Nokias?
Yes.
And over 1 billion people used to listen to the voice record, the recording of the sound of my phone for nearly 9 years.
That's crazy.
And at that time, 1 billion people were reading news, so it felt comfortable because it sounded like a newspaper.
It was still the
magazine.
page turning
It was that transition. They were
Familiar.
transitioning, and then obviously the smartphone come, and then it became apps, and now my CTO at the time, it's now his company, and he does the apps for the likes of the Times, Newsday America, 1,000 media companies worldwide, and I just got known for that because I was the guy at the top of that media company, and was well known in media circles.
Yeah.
Wow.
And do you think, reflecting back, it was a good thing. So now we have not just, apps on our phone, but it's, I sit with people and it's ping, 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 BBC, or, it's so fast.
Well, interestingly, I lived in Kent, near Canterbury, and an eminent PhD professor approached myself, and we'd won, our print media had won Newspaper of the Year 6 times on the trot. So she invited us to talk about the future of media and the future of news, and with another publisher. And I take no pleasure from this, because 20 years on, we said what we thought was going to happen, and it all came true.
Really?
That it would dumb down democracy. It would erode truth in the media. It would polarize, and it wouldn't be good for our children. But unfortunately, it wasn't regulated. And now we're heading into an AI world, which is equally unregulated. So sadly, I wish what we said back then wasn't true.
Really?
But that's,
But it is.
There's a bit of a filter. Like back then, if there was a story about to break and it was wrong, or, maybe like people had the chance to respond, or, get something pulled if it was going to be damaging to other parts of,
Whereas now it's immediately
I mean, if you look at the national press of the UK, The Guardian, very liberal, the Daily Mail, frightened Middle England, and very conservative, the Mirror, in that Labour spot, the Times, and they're all slightly different politically. And some would say, well, news has always been skewed. But actually, it was skewed, but at the end of the day, was someone to sue. Now you can't sue anybody because the people who are so-called responsible Facebook's not responsible. Nobody's responsible.
And you have all the fake news now, which
and it was without those gate rails. I mean, we used to have letters pages, right? We would get 1,000 letters in, and 500 of them you couldn't publish. And the ones that were good, you'd have to filter. But there's no moderation. Everybody thinks they have a God-given right to say whatever they want, because someone calls it, citizen journalism.
Their own
and there's
truth.
there's no filter. And because of the algorithms now, it can be used for political and obviously marketeers use it as well. I can't say that we don't use it because you can't be, in the market. It's like I go skiing a lot. I like skiing. So as soon as I go skiing, the minute I get back, I'm getting served ads from Whistler or the French Alps, So everybody uses it, but I think there should be more controls, because we've ended up with polarized politics, and then people end up with a narrow view. In my day, I would read The Sun, The Guardian, The Times, The Mirror, and then I got a broader view of life, and hopefully then had a better view of a more balanced view, maybe.
It's gone so far the other way now, hasn't it? I found myself watching something last week, and I had no clue if it was actual news or, as you said earlier, fake news. And I was watching it, well, you can probably guess what I'm referring to, but I was watching it thinking, this has to be some kind of AI. That I don't know if this is real or not. But, it's crazy that we're, things have moved
too far. I mean,
too far.
I talked about this at the World Economic Forum about 7 or 8 years ago, and we talked about, there was some eminent people there talking about technology, and you can't control innovation, because innovation by its nature is not controllable, which is true, But when you're talking about communication tools that affect our behaviour, look at COVID, it changed our behaviours, and that's what media can do. And it can be used for good, and it can be used for...
And do you miss, obviously you had you did all that, and do you miss that world? Because I know you do a lot of investment stuff now, which will obviously come on to,
so basically I'd started 5 media businesses, sold 5 media businesses, took 2 companies public with a management team, and I'd had it a bit up to here with it, and it changed so much, so I got a little bit cynical with it, and then obviously Google and Facebook had turned up and stolen everybody's lunch, so and produced no content whatsoever.
That's
hilarious. So I was a bit disillusioned, and I bought up a little bit of a property portfolio and helped some of the national property portfolios that are now the face of property in the UK.
Right.
And the office of number 10 approached me because of the knowledge of disrupting media, how that, media had been the same for 100 years. And it wasn't the internet that changed media. It was the smartphone and broadband all turning up at the same time. So overnight, within 3 years, it all turned on its head. So I would do talks around the British Isles, at Cambridge, at Manchester, and various other places about how businesses have to adapt, how the cycles change. And the office of number 10, we met some nanotechnology scientists that had just won the Nobel Prize out of Manchester for inventing graphene. And I got hooked thinking, actually, I can use all of this knowledge to actually storytell about, here's this problem in the world, degenerative diseases. There's no cure. Even the drugs that are out there slow it down, so you have a slow, miserable life. That's not a great solution.
Yeah.
So we'd get Bloomberg, The Times, whatever, to write about this is the big healthcare challenge of our lifetime. So who are the companies that are going to solve it? And then they'd write articles about that, and then we'd then hold a webinar or an event where investors could come in, not maybe the VC shark type characters could come in, and we had family offices, sovereign wealth funds, and even ordinary people investing in these, you're kidding me, deep technologies.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So it was a big pivot.
So I was going to say that is a big pivot, but still really interesting. You obviously really love to get your teeth into something.
I'm
and
curious.
I think that's what I'm getting. And you seem to think, right, okay, I like that. I'm going to do something with that. And do you feel like you're always looking for opportunities in different realms?
Well, my son, who's brighter than me, he went to a much better school and university, and and holds me to account. He's not always right, but neither am I. I think you've got to remain curious because we're not on this planet for that long.
Yeah.
And he started working with me straight out of university because he wanted to do something. And so we did something together. And I said, well, 5 years, I'll probably start slowing down. And he just laughs now because I'm forever curious. And I think that's really important.
But it's also a testament to the fact that you don't actually have to pigeonhole yourself into one thing. You can literally pivot your whole life. You don't have to just stay on the same trajectory. You can go, actually, I'm going to start doing that and I can do it.
Well, speaking of your pivots and the different things that you've done, since we're the Portugal Diaries podcast, I think it's a good place to stop and ask, how did this Portugal Pathways journey come to be? How did you get started with that?
Well, I'll tell you, it's another thing. Things are meant to happen, aren't they? I'd helped. Kofi Annan, the ex-leader of the UN, after he passed, his family trust went to the children, and I got to know one of the children, and they were going to do a fund out of Luxembourg to do with African children getting into places like Man City and accelerating that. And then COVID came and there was not going to be any participation sport. So he phoned me up and said, Paul, we're going to waste all this money and we can't do anything. Can't we do something to do with nanotechnology? There's a pandemic coming. Could we do a fund on pandemic protection? And we were, we were doing some stuff around that. And he said to me, I've got a friend, could you have a look at this technology? Because I've got a team of people that are brighter than me that analyse all these deep technology. I'm the storyteller, as you can tell, and I amplify the story, but then we have brighter minds to then go and verify and fact check and make sure that these things can be delivered to the marketplace. And because it's the Annan family, they know everybody. So I said, okay, let's have a look at this. And basically, it was a technology where people were food things like avocados, they don't last very long. So food miles, food waste, real impact thing. So this technology actually stops food from degrading. So it's impact on every level, right? And we happen to be working with the Nanotechnology Institute in Braga, in Portugal. So I was coming to Portugal a little bit, and so they had a technology that was much earlier in development, and this company were all ready to go. They just needed to build a brand. So we looked at their technology, so we knew about it, and we gave it a good health check and report. They wanted to raise about 30 million. And as a media guy, I knew the person that was going to invest. It was a favour for them. And he gave him the report. And I said, look, before you know, we're not getting paid for this gig. Who's the report for? And it was Katy Perry. Okay. And so media guy, Katy Perry invest in nanotechnology. It's like a dream. So I said, well, I want the media, I want the PR gig for this. You know, we've done the report, but you know. Yeah. And I said, who is Katy Perry friendly with? So I looked it up online, and Oprah is one of her neighbours, very friendly.
As you do.
Oprah phones up Gates. They didn't raise 30 million, they raised 250 million. If you look it up 6 years ago, Appeal Sciences, Katy Perry invest in nanotech. They didn't need anybody's help after that. So what happened was the Anand family kept bringing me people like that, and they got some allocation of SpaceX shares. And he said, you know a lot of family, you know a lot of wealth, you know, can we place this anywhere? So I said, you know, I don't know. So we put it out to a dozen European family offices, and everybody come back saying, is this real? Do you know what I mean?
You're winding us up.
You know, and it was about 30 million, but you can't buy SpaceX shares. It's just, there's no secondary market. No. And then I get a phone call the next day from an English-speaking Middle Eastern accent, and he said, Paul, how on earth have you got an allocation of SpaceX shares? And he was representing one of the Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds. And he said, you need to get me in front of Musk and his finance director. And I looked at him thinking, well, look, I'm just a middleman. I have no idea how to do it. Yeah. So we basically spoke to the people, had the allocation. Anyway, the long and short of it was they spent 2 or 3 years trying to build a relationship. We didn't get paid for anything, but basically this sovereign wealth fund put 2 billion into SpaceX. And then they kept inviting me around the world to different events. I know this is a long way to get to how we got to Portugal, but and I went to this event in Dallas with the Sovereign Wealth Fund Institute and 100 of the richest families in the world. And the lead speaker was someone I'd helped in the UK, a tech guy who he invented bookings.com and he was a speaker with Steve Wozniak. I did a big tech event like the Web Summit, but in the UK. Yeah. And he was the speaker at this dinner. So I didn't know anyone. Suddenly I knew everyone. So we then, after dinner, was having a drink. And all of these people, this was before Trump coming back, said, Paul, we've got all our money in the States. You know, the world's becoming more of an unsafe place. You're the media guy. You're the tech guy. Why don't you launch a platform for diversification of investments and golden visas across the world? And I said, look, I have no interest in building a supply chain for the whole world, but I like this place, Portugal.
This little place on the map.
And that was 2 years ago. And now we've moved all of this international wealth that was looking at tech to looking at a country. And that's how we got there.
Fantastic.
Very cool. So what do you do? So, you know, for people that are wanting to get involved with Portugal Pathways or with the P Club, you know, what can they expect?
So basically, the way we look at it, we try and create a soft landing, because when we did the research on all the people that are coming, people think, oh, they're coming to retire. No, they're not. They're coming to enlighten their lives, to create another spark in their life. And, you know, everyone we spoke to said they want to meet like-minded people. They want to experience, money can't buy things. They want to maybe see other business opportunities in this new enlightened country that they found, and they want to be part of something that they know and trust. And coming to a new country, it's all in a different language. It's not Anglo-Saxon. The law isn't either. So navigating all of these things, whether it's tax, whether it's wealth management, whether it's property, or just how do I get the dog over here?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Simple.
Is complex. So what we do is we put a supply chain of the best, and we end up as an extension of the family throughout that journey until they've had enough of us.
So that you can
So
cover
with the
every
glue in
angle.
the bricks,
Yeah.
that's what we do.
Simplify the process,
yeah.
make it
Yeah,
as easy as possible, and get them established here.
And you'll be amazed at some of the people that are coming to this country. It blows my
Yeah,
mind.
I'd have to agree with that. Like, really, you know, sorry.
I was going to say, where do you think most, or where, from what you've experienced, where are most of the people that you're working with coming from?
Well, I was on a call last week with the world's most eminent seismologists, so tracked tsunamis and built all of the thinking of how we manage tsunamis. I was in Lisbon last week. If you know the history of Lisbon and tsunamis and earthquakes, and these are super minds. But they're coming from the UK because they built a level of wealth and they don't want to give it all to the UK government. And the laws changed on inheritance tax and residency. So we've got a lot of Brits coming here and value creators. We've got MIT scientists that when you go on MIT's website and you look them up, it says that their influence on the world is impactful as Darwin and Einstein.
Really?
These are the type of people who come. Head of data science at Microsoft, the head of investment at Amazon. It's just musicians. I mean, I bumped into the guy that wrote the music for Britain's Got Talent and the X Factor, and he was a pop star, and now he does all of that music out in Japan that's really hot. And he's just moved from California, moved to Lisbon. I walked into the Time Out market and bumped into him. Yeah. And he wants to do great things when he gets here. And that's what people want.
We've spoken about it before on our podcast. As for all the celebrities and known people who are here, it's so very private for them. They're just in amongst everybody. And I guess there's as much as the safety and the investment opportunities and everything, there's also that kind of feeling of privacy whilst, because you don't really get that. If you think about in America, or you think of the UK, and America's dreadful for the paparazzi, like literally
so
insane.
London's not great.
And London's like pretty much the same way, and you just don't get that here. So it's almost like multifaceted. So, it's great for everybody because it's just more of a pull. But so because you don't live here full time, do you? You go back.
No, I'm on the way to full time. I've got a son who's 6 now. I've got two older sons who are much travelled. In fact, they're both in Portugal at the moment. But my youngest son is training to be the next Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, wow!
And he's 16 and really flying. So obviously, we want to stay with that. But obviously, I can't stop myself because I'm curious. So I'm here a lot of the time. So and intend to be here permanently.
And what would you say to people who are thinking of making the move? Because Jen and I speak about this a lot, and we speak about it with our guests, making the move over here as a lot of expats come on. And, everybody says, oh, that's so brave. And, so for people who are in America, UK or elsewhere, what would what advice would you have for people coming here, especially from a personal point of view, but also from a business perspective, going from the service you provide?
I think that the first thing I'd say is, get involved in the real Portugal. Don't come and replace what you had back home exactly. If you want to get the best of Portugal, then embrace it. Go to the last week they had the San Antonio Festival in Lisbon. There were sardines all over the city. The whole city smelt of sardines.
You're not selling this, Paul.
No, honestly, the aroma, it was just mad. The party, it was like a party.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you then get a different side of things in the Algarve. You get a different side of things in the Alentejo or the Silver Coast or Porto or Braga or Douro Valley. It's a beautiful country. It's not a big country, but there's so much to explore.
It is. It's funny you say that, because it's not a big country, but there are so many differences. And yeah, so we went up to, just to digress a little bit, we have friends in actually Algezur. So we went to Arifana Beach, which was just full of surfers, all kind of like, early 20s. I just felt like I'd arrived in Bondi Beach. It was hysterical, but in a great way. And like my husband and I were just like, we feel like we've come on holiday for the day, because it was only an hour and a half up the road. But it was just even the vibe of all the beach bars on the cliff edge of the beach. And, everybody who was there was just so beachy. And it's, then you go to the Alentejo, and it's a little bit, I always think it's almost like Soho farmhouse-like. And then you go to Lisbon, which is just so cultural and amazing city. Then the Algarve, which is just laid back but luxe. And you're right, it is got so many different facets to it.
Well, a friend of mine took me over the bridge, with the Christ, the replica of what you've got in Rio, and he said, "Look, just come down here." And we went down the coast, and there was this beach that just went on for, it was like Copacabana meets Pebble Beach. It was just unbelievable, and it went on for miles and miles and miles. And I think people have got to get out there and explore it. And when they first come here, they'll have a mind. Oh, I've got to be in the Golden Triangle, or I've got to be in Cascais, or I've got to be wherever. Go and find out what fits for you, is what I would advise people.
So how have you found the parts that you enjoy most? Have you stayed in different areas? Have you?
Yeah, I mean, because of what we do, we've just spent the last 2 weeks with the film crew going all around the country, filming all these, hidden gems, and talking to people that have been through this experience, and telling their story, so other people can learn. But I think everything's different. I love Porto. I love the Central Algarve. I like a little bit more of the peacefulness, in parts of Ferraguda and places like that. Lagos is a lovely place for surfing and what have you, and down to Sagres. But equally here, there's community in places like Quinta and what have you. So it depends what you want, really, and it depends when you want it, doesn't it?
Do you have a number one? Do you have a preferred location?
I mean, my family are all around the Benishil area, and it's quiet. But I, to be honest, I like all of it. I've fallen in love with the whole thing.
It is so diverse. There's something for everything.
I really have. I know that's a cop-out, but it's the truth.
No, it's not. It's...
Just when you're talking about your family there, so I'm going to ask this question, but I already know a bit of the backstory to it. Claire touched on her intro around the marathon that you ran recently in
61,
London.
Done my first marathon,
So I know the story that it was inspired by something that happened to a member of your family, but will you share that with us?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so my stepdaughter and her 2 children, and I might go here if you tell so.
Sorry,
so
that's
bear
not
with
mine.
me. No,
It's
all right.
have any
It's all right.
tissues.
It's real, because it's important to me. And my stepdaughter and her 2 children and her partner, we were on holiday here, and we'd had a lovely holiday, and went back, and then the UK decided to have the hottest day in history, 44 degrees, a number of years ago, wasn't it? For those that remember. And she was 4, and she was just going to preschool, and she came home for the day feeling very tired, and she had a seizure on the doorstep. CPR, ambulance. Never been ill a day in her life. Really bright, intelligent 4-year-old who can put her father or her grandfather to quiet in the corner, and suddenly she's got this problem. And then her brain was seeing like an earthquake. She was having these aftershocks. And then it was like a self-protection. She started then having seizures every 20 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My daughter has an online business. Her husband couldn't work. She couldn't work. They had a 2-year-old as well as a 4-year-old. My granddaughter could feel these things coming on, and she'd say, coming. And her mum had to be with her 24 hours. So weren't sleeping, doctors didn't know what to do. It was just horrendous. So a perfect life to a nightmare. And it's not till it happens you realise. And basically, the long and short of it, we fought hard, and we got her in to King's Hospital, which is a world famous neurological unit, with Evelina Hospital, Children's Hospital in London, and Guy's. And basically, they analysed, well, all this was going on, and obviously, if nothing happened, she was possibly not going to have a good outcome. And they worked out that the seizures were firing in a certain part of her brain, and if they could operate and take half of her brain away, that she might not be a grade A student, but she'd be here and she'd have her daughter and my granddaughter. But what a decision to make, right? So they had to make the decision, and they went for it. And she woke up, and she made a joke. So they knew they had their daughter back. And she never cried once in that whole year and a half, 2 years. When they were taking catheters out of her and whatever, she'd say, don't worry. She was just an angel. And going through, I can't even, I get older and I get pains and problems, but a 4-year-old to be so brave and come out the other end of it. And she's now a grade A student.
Wow,
she's 6. She's playing guitar, she's playing drums, she's top of her class, and she's got half of her brain.
Wow.
So I just thought, you know what? If she can do that, I can put one foot forward. And the most humbling thing when I did it was we got put in a WhatsApp group with other families, and they were all, I'm 61 and big fella, so and they're all times and what's your time, and I was a bit disinterested in all that. My time is when I finish, so that's not what it's about. So I lost a little bit of interest in, and then one of them put something in the group saying, what got you here? And then a dad turned up and said, my daughter came in here at birth and she was here her whole life, but she's passed. But I'm so glad to be.
Oh God, you're going to set me off.
Yeah, so she could she could, what you're doing, and the fact that you've got a good happy ending. Yeah. And boy, that last 8 miles, I had so much motivation.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable doing it with these group of people. Yeah. And we raised an incredible amount of money, and the crowd was just, it was mind blowing. It was the best thing.
That's
I've
amazing.
ever done.
What an accolade. And, considering, I know they got both of us. We
Sorry.
can't do this, hang on.
No, it is one of them,
But I just think, given that you've done all this incredible business stuff and sold all the companies and first put the news on the iPhone and stuff, and then something as kind of humbling as running the marathon for your granddaughter and for that guy whose daughter.
Yeah.
But I love what you just said there in terms of putting one foot in front of the other. Yeah. So on your worst day, however hard something is, insurmountable challenge, just one foot in front of the other. I'm going to take that. So I think that's really good advice. Yeah.
I might have to lighten it now because
I booked myself in for next year. I don't know whether I'm going to get in.
Have you really?
And my son's doing ultra marathons, and so and the best thing, he's doing an ultra marathon, and he's doing something in Verbier in a few weeks' time where he's running 144 kilometres up 9,000 metres of mountains. But the London Marathon this year was the record amount anyone had ever finished a marathon. So we all got a Guinness Book of Records. So I'm a world record holder.
Wow,
so,
amazing. As if you
with 56 other 1,000 people. But let's not get that in the way. So
But listen, I'm conscious we're running out of time, but I really want to talk to you quickly about the P Club.
Yeah.
So quickly run through not quickly, but obviously
share with us
about the P Club, because this is another incredible thing you're doing.
Yeah. So the P Club is the Portugal Investment Owners Club. So when we launched Portugal Pathways, we researched thousands of people that have come on this journey, and they wanted to experience life. They wanted to meet like-minded people. They wanted business opportunities, investment opportunities, and they wanted to be in an environment of trust. So I was involved with the Harley Davidson Owners Club, the Hogs Club, famous club. There was a movie made about it. And that was all about creating a community of engagement. And my media background was all about that. So what better than bringing like-minded people to share opportunities, experiences, and not only that, you're then in a trusted network. So if a fox gets in the hen cage, then everyone knows. I mean, this community here is very close. We were talking about it earlier. You know, reputation is everything. And that's what it's about. And there's the old money of Portugal have turned up and said they're very supportive, because we're very much about keeping the traditions of Portugal. There's a lot of philanthropic side to it. But yeah, it's a community of engagement, and business connections and investment opportunities can come through it as well.
Throughout the whole of Portugal, isn't it? Yeah.
Throughout the whole of Portugal, yeah.
And that is still in the making, or
So we haven't gone out there. We're quietly, but we have some really, really interesting people. I explained to you earlier about some of the people that come through Portugal. So there's going to be some really interesting people that you're going to meet on that journey, from academia, from sport, from entertainment, from business, and from life, because we aim to have at least 100 memberships will be people that have done special things in Portugal. They might have done something in terms of educating children after COVID. They might have saved some people's lives in some heroic thing. Now, what better guest to have speaking at the P Club than that?
Sounds so interesting.
Yeah, sounds really
excited to hear more.
Yeah, I know. When you first mentioned it, and we were just like hooked. So yeah, it's just going to get better and better. So we are being chased out here at the minute. So we always do a quick fire round at the end. So these are quick fire questions. There's no prep gone into them for you. So go on, Jen. You always kick them off.
I'm going to kick off with tell us about one hidden gem in Portugal. You've touched on all the gorgeous places that you've frequented, but is there one little gem that's maybe a bit lesser known, or one that stands out as being really special?
Just before you get to Silves, there's a place called Barradas, and it's tucked away. It's not in any Michelin star list, but I'd rather go there than most Michelin stars. It's in an orange grove, so even when it's beating hot, you've got the cover. It's all sort of traditional tables outside and in. They make their own sparkling pink wine. It's all fresh. And my son has already decided that when he gets to a certain age, he will be running that restaurant.
Oh, really?
I love that.
So yeah, that would be my hidden gem.
Brilliant. And what's the name of it?
Barradas.
Okay,
need to add that to the
list
of places.
Many places to go. Well, aside from the Portugal Diaries, what's your favourite podcast out there that you're listening to at the minute?
Well, the Diaries of a CEO is obviously one that a lot of people watch, and I was involved with one of the Dragon's Den with an event last year where we were speaking, and I got to meet him at another event to do with the property market, actually, talking about how real estate people could change their behaviours, and he gave a real. I was never sure about him, but he gave a really, really good view of that, and so I find that interesting because it has business and social elements to it.
Yeah, I think it does cover all. It's very diverse who he interviews, and I think that makes it really interesting for everybody, because it covers everyone. Go on, another one.
I think we're talking about food too much today, so I'm going to go with another food question. Must try Portuguese dish. Any specific favourites that you've got?
But my favourite is I was in Cascais last week. And there's a restaurant there called Gaucho, and it's right in the ocean, in the rocks, basically. It's been there for 150 years, and we was asking him, how fresh is the seafood? And he pointed to a fisherman in the rocks, and he said he lifts it out of here and he brings it in.
Wow. I can't
Yeah.
get any
And
fresh.
I went in there
fresh.
and they laid out a simple piece of fish with a little bit of seasoning, and
Wow.
to me, my favourite is just the simplicity of them. And it's not Mediterranean; it's the ocean. And I think, fresh fish, out the sea. Simple as that.
Well, I think your next mission needs to be to write down all of this and capture
Yeah.
all of these little gems and restaurant
sure.
Well,
recommendations.
I used to, in an old life, I used to be a pseudonym for, I used to do restaurant reviews under a pseudonym, but I haven't done it for
really?
about 15 years. But,
That's a
Bring
nice
that
so
back.
reviewing food
Resurrect.
is now just a lifetime pass than a professional one. So, yeah.
And lastly, just to wrap it up, what's your most surprising thing about Portugal?
I don't know if it's surprising, but it blows me away every time. We was doing these interviews in Lisbon, and someone said people are so welcoming, and you get all this thing, and I think he said people will stop you in the street in Lisbon, and you'll ask for directions, and they will grab your hand and take you there. And an hour later, I was in the centre of Lisbon. You imagine that in a capital city. That happening in New York or London or whatever, and literally I witnessed somebody do it, and then they said, "Oh, come with me, I'll show you where to go." And when they got there, they started telling them
About the place.
about the place. Yeah. So they're so generous with their time, and they're just open. And having travelled the world, where there's all the money in the world and all the ideas, but they're not really listening, and that's what I really like, the spirit and passion of and their goodwill.
Yeah,
Love
I
that.
think you've nailed it completely. Paul, you've been an amazing guest. I just know that we've literally only touched the surface on your stories, though.
I am a storyteller, so
Yeah, but I love that. It's perfect for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
podcast, but I know that you've got a million more to tell.
Totally, and there's some highlights that we've managed to
we
touch
touched
on.
on
But
some things,
I
yeah.
loved the story about your little granddaughter and how she's motivated you
and
to.
she is beautiful.
Aw.
Yeah, she really is.
I think you're the first guest to reduce us to tears,
Yeah.
actually.
But I just think to do the marathon, as you say,
Yeah.
it's just an incredible. You got loads of incredible achievements, but that for me, I just think.
Well,
is
I'm
just-
Paul, and so my sign on my shirt was Big P, and I don't think I ran a step without someone, "Go on, Big P, go on, Big P."
Did you like that?
Yeah. I mean, you got to be
with
reflective on who you are. So it was.
Would you say
it was
that
great.
one of your biggest accomplishments? Would you say that was one of your biggest accomplishments?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty more accomplishments out there, but that was the most special.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love
for
that.
sure.
Yeah, well done. Congratulations,
Yeah.
and well done on all that you've achieved. And you're right,
Yeah, and
Claire. We
special
need.
thank you to Evelina Hospital.
Yeah.
exactly
I can't
that.
say enough, really.
They're incredible, aren't they?
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up for today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. It's
Thank
been
you
lovely
for
to have
coming
you.
on the show. And if you want to find us, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook on the Portugal Diaries podcast. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, then don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, because that really helps our numbers. And obviously share it with all of your friends on socials when you follow us.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.